Okay, the time is 4 o'clock. I will call the City of Port Atkinson Plan Commission meeting to order, in person and via Zoom, Tuesday, April 23rd, 4 p.m. Let's see. Roll call, please.
Chairperson Manager Houseman,
Here.
Engineer Selly,
Here.
Commissioner Gray,
Here.
Commissioner Scholl,
Here.
Commissioner Highfield, and Council Representative Schultz will be a few minutes late. Thank you.
Note that Commissioner Kesnick is also absent. Okay, next item on the agenda, number 3, new business. We have the public hearing for the conditional use permit relating to a new wireless telecommunications facility located in the 1500 block of Commonwealth Drive. Before we open that public hearing, I would like our zoning administrator, building inspector Jed Drager to present the site plan and conditional use permit memo and information submitted by the applicants, and then we will open the public hearing. Mr. Drager.
Good afternoon. As you see in the report, this is for a new communication tower, excuse me, over on Commonwealth Drive. This would be directly south of the Family Dollar General and south and slightly to the west of Pick and Save. Behind there's a vacant lot. Amy, do we have one that we got a little closer look to where?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I really can't hear.
I apologize because I turned it off instead of turning it on.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. So as you can see, this is north side of Commonwealth Drive. That would be the small mall there behind the Family Dollar, I think it is there. And then the Pick and Save there is the larger building on the right, it's the large parking lot. So the Tillman Infrastructure on behalf of AT&T is proposing a new communication tower there that is 193 feet. And per our ordinances, there you can see an image of that. Per our ordinance, it's required to accommodate the possibility of 2 additional service providers in the future, as well as you can see the screening there. It has gone through a site plan review. There's a couple things that were missing on there that were not too excessive. I'll detail those in a minute here. One thing that we'd be looking for right off the bat with the request of the overview is an affidavit from the owner would be required with approval of this project. That would be one main thing that we'd have there. Communication tower, this is the suburban mixed use zoning district, and a communication tower is considered an accessory use and with a conditional use permit would be allowed in this current zoning. So no zoning change would be necessary for this. As I said, with the tower height, communication towers have their own land use requirements. It is meeting those land use requirements except for the height of the tower. So it's below the maximum that we allow of 200 feet. However, our zoning ordinance does require that it be set back from the property line the same distance as the height of the tower. However, if they can show through engineering that it can collapse inside of the setback, it is allowed. So that's a state requirement or state allowance, I should say, that if they can show through engineering that it collapsed in its own footprint, that it can be in that space. Other than that, it is meeting all the other requirements for the communication tower land use. There are a few minor things as far as site plan that would be there. As you can see, there is a retention pond there that services the properties to the north and the east. I think you'll see in our notes there, it would be more appropriate for that to be joined with the properties that it serves. There is easements on the property as well for stormwater and things like that, but that would be, one of the things we'd be pointing out. Also, another thing that we point out is the surface requirements that the city has in our ordinances. They're proposing gravel. We do require a paved surface there as well as curbing. They are providing screening that's required. So most of the screen or all their screen requirements would be being met. Setbacks on the lot. As I said, there's just some small details there, and I'll go through those right here other than that, we're pretty much meeting every requirement that we have, aside from that affidavit, which I already mentioned, the height. We do require a pedestrian and bicycle access, but I think we can all see that that probably would not be something that would be utilized had it be provided. The paved surface on the driveway, exterior lighting is another thing that we don't have a plan for, or was mentioned at all. Oops, excuse me, I'll wait just a second. Let me pick back up. Are you sure? Okay. Exterior lighting is one plan that we did not get, so we'd be looking for a photometric plan showing what type of lighting they'd be putting on site, if any, and what that would be, and foot candles on the site. And then also for a construction site erosion control plan, we don't have any information as far as how they plan to control the erosion control and sediment coming off of that piece of property when construction is going on. Yes, what's a couple other things? Would you have any more questions other than that?
Was the property owner?
That would be Highway 12 LLC is the property owner. So I guess actually this portion here is the public hearing, which is required for a conditional use. So no action would be taken on this, and that's why there is no recommendation from staff at this point. It's more or less an introduction of the project and allowing the community members, which have been noticed with the appropriate time ahead of this meeting, to voice their opinions.
Is the lack of permission from the present owner a problem in trying to go ahead with this without that?
No, I don't think so. Not at this moment, given that we're not asking for, there's no action being taken. This would be something that would be a condition for sure, but it would be something we'd be looking for before action is taken.
Jed, when is the planning commission going to see this and take official action on it?
I believe plan commission is set for forgive me.
May 14th
Is
is
May
the next
14th?
plan commission
Yes,
meeting.
that would be the next one. So we have that extra Tuesday in there. Extra length of time.
So the plan commission may take action on it at that meeting if everything we request or require from this meeting has been met at that point.
It could also be made a condition as well.
Okay, I think we will go ahead with the public hearing, and then we will have a little bit more time after the public hearing to answer questions from the plan commission and maybe talk a little bit through any additional requirements that the plan commission would like to see before the next meeting. Okay. Okay, so I will now open the public hearing relating to this request for a conditional use permit for a new wireless telecommunications service facility located in the 1500 block of Commonwealth Drive. Okay, could you come up to, okay, just come up to the microphone there and state your name and address and your interest if it's with the company for the record.
Sure. My name is Julie Beniked. I am with LCC Telecom Services, which is located at 10700 West Higgins Road, Suite 240 in Rosemont, Illinois. And I'm an agent on behalf of Tillman Infrastructure, the tower developer owner, as well as AT&T. I just wanted to make sure that the height stated was correct for this tower is 173 feet overall. And as far as I know, the property owner question that you have, we do have, an executed lease. If that's an option to provide maybe a redacted lease or the affidavit for that, we will work with you to be able to provide that. Same with, landscaping to help with screening, any recommendations locally, and for the grading as well. And otherwise, you covered quite well a lot of the features of the site. I just want to reiterate, this site where we're locating the towers off of the road back a ways, situated in a nice area where the surrounding buildings will help also add some screening of views from various angles. And we're looking to fill in a gap of the network that's what the goal of building this tower site is. So it will help fill in a need and improve the network. That'll help those businesses and other uses in that surrounding area. So any other questions, I'm here to help answer and continue this discussion. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We might bring you back up later if there's questions from the Plan Commission. I know I have a couple, but we'll continue on with the public hearing. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak at this public hearing relating to the conditional use permit? Third call for anyone wishing to speak relating to the conditional use permit.
Hello, this is Andrew Flowers with AT&T Mobility. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you're a little garbled, but we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. I was unable to make it up to the meeting this afternoon. So my name is Andrew Flowers. I am the Senior Real Estate and Construction Manager for AT&T Mobility. And Julie basically explained everything that you needed to hear. You know, we're interested in building this facility to help out the community and to fill in some gaps in our coverage. And this tower will have LTE on it for the network and FirstNet for first responders. So it will have all the newest technology on this facility to support the community. So if there's any engineering questions or site act questions between Julie and myself, we should be able to help you out.
Thank you. We'll continue on the public hearing, but please stay on because there will likely be some questions from the Plan Commission. Okay, third and final call of anybody on the Zoom, or in the room wishing to speak on this public hearing. Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Questions from the Plan Commission for either staff or Julie or Andrew with the applicant? I guess I have one question. This Plan Commission approved a cell tower on Clout Hill on the north side of Madison about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer. And I believe there were co-location opportunities on that tower. I'm just, I don't see that on any of these maps. Was that an option that was reviewed prior to applying for a new tower? And that question's aimed at whoever can answer it.
All right, so this is Andrew Flowers again. So we can, if you can provide the lat longs or the address to that, we'll make sure that it's been reviewed and ruled in or ruled out for zoning purposes. But when we go out and look for new facilities to build, we take into account anything that's standing and it meets our engineering requirements for coverage. And I'm seeing up on the screen right here that the tower looks to be like 70 feet tall, and then there's a center line for 40 feet. Is that the tower that's in question?
Yes, that was the tower I was referring to.
Oh, okay. So when AT&T looked at building the facility that we're asking for the approval on, the tower that we need is basically about 3 times as high as that. So something that would be that short would not even be considered because it's not even capable of doing the coverage pattern that is necessary without a proliferation of towers. So, I mean, we can definitely have our engineers look at it and do an RF study on it to be 100% sure, but that's basically the reasoning of why we put the site where it's at today and the height that it's being asked for. And we do have propagation maps that show that the need and the coverage that would be coming from the new tower that we're proposing.
I also want to add that this particular tower is located just to the north of the water tank, which also proposed, some challenges with blocking the signal and at that specific available height for the antennas. So one additional thing to note is that in Wisconsin state statute, you know, we are considering co-location within our search ring. And so I believe this particular tower, though it is the closest, was still outside of the search area that we really needed a tower to be located in to provide this service as well.
Julie, was that information provided in the application, so I guess the diameter radius that you're looking to serve in relation to these other towers?
I believe so. I can always double check, and if it is not, then I can always provide it. Yeah.
I'm curious, and maybe you can't answer this, but it seems odd that US Cellular was able to make everything work at that elevation, but you're not. Is there some difference in the technology that's going on there, or do you not dive into that deep of these things?
Again, and Andrew Flowers, feel free to jump in here, but I believe it has to do with the elevation of where the antennas are located on that tower. You know, at the top, maybe they're able to clear the water tank that's next to it and able to get a, you know, a much broader range for that network versus farther down on that tower where a open location would be for new equipment, would be being blocked by the water tower.
Yep, I can answer some of that. So US Cellular's network is obviously different than AT&T's network, and they might have cell sites that are closer. They might not have the same needs that we do for coverage. With AT&T having the network for FirstNet, for first responders, that the requirement is different than any other carrier that's out there, because we have the only contract with the federal government for that network. So when the engineers put together their plan, you know, they basically give us a latitude of, you know, probably about a quarter of a mile, maybe half a mile, depending on topography, and then they give us a height that they need to be at for a minimum. So when we put all those things together, and then we look for obviously a landlord that's interested in leasing land to us. So our network has sites all around Fort Atkinson that when this site is turned on, basically fills in all those gaps to meet the coverage requirements for FirstNet and for our network.
Is there a reason, Andrew, why you had to locate at 40 feet center line as opposed to at 60 feet center line where the existing opening is at?
So what I'm looking at on the screen here is a tower that's proposed by US Cellular, right? So we're proposing to build at our site at basically 160 feet, which is 120 feet taller than what you're showing on the screen here.
Yeah, this location is on top of a hill, so the ground elevation is markedly different from your site and this site. I'm just curious why your location for AT&T is called out at 40 feet there as opposed to because I believe they
I don't know who has that on there, because that's not one of our search areas, I don't believe at all. So maybe it was something that somebody put on there, whoever built the tower, to say that, you know, for an example, AT&T or T-Mobile could go on the facility. But as Julie explained, you know, one of the reasons, just looking at this and not knowing the facility, is that if our antennas are at 40 feet and we are basically within a very close distance to that water tank, that entire sector that has antennas would be blocked, and it's what's called scattering effect. So basically the antennas would shoot at the water tank and shoot right back and wouldn't cover anything for that whole sector. So something at 40 feet is basically not usable for any carrier for the most part because of the low height. I mean, maybe if you had somebody that was interested in covering, you know, 260 degrees or 270 degrees in the other directions, but when we build facilities, they really need to cover in 360 degrees to have, you know, proper coverage for our customers and for FirstNet.
Yeah, I think my question is, I believe that this is vacant up here. So before we take this for formal consideration, it'd be good to understand why this, why you had to locate at 40 versus up at 60 within a vacant position, essentially up at the top of that monopole. There may be a good reason for this. I just don't.
Yeah, so let me make sure I understand so I can get you the information, for our future discussion here, is that you're saying that this monopole is in the air and there's nobody on this monopole at all. So
No, this monopole is in the air and it is occupied by US Cellular, but I believe with that approval, US Cellular only used a portion of the available space. And I think that
Okay.
there was, I'd have to look on our end to find out, but I believe there was intentionally space left there for other carriers to occupy at that, what I would assume at that 60-foot level. So perhaps that's not
Okay.
correct, and that's why you were shown at 40 feet. But it'd be good to verify that.
honestly, I manage probably about 90% of everything in Illinois, Wisconsin for new site builds. So I am not familiar with why our center line is being shown on this facility, but I will endeavor to find out. But I'm just looking at your drawing there, and if you look at where it says proposed US Cellular panel antennas, it looks like 60 or 65 feet. It doesn't look like there's anything available at the top of that tower. So it looks like even though US Cellular might be on it lower than the bottom, they may actually have lease rights for that higher height that they just haven't installed yet. So I don't know. I'd have to dig down into, whose tower is it, what's available for height, and we can definitely look at that with our engineers. And, when we come back to the next hearing to make sure that it's ruled in or ruled out
Yeah,
for usage.
I believe this diagram was intended to show the existing US Cellular tower at a height of 70 feet, existing antennas with a center at 60 feet, showing the required separation we would need, and then the orange box would be the available space where we would potentially be able to co-locate. And then looking horizontally, if we were to put our antennas there, it would reach, it would be hitting the water tower, which is shown to the right. So that's what it's trying to show you in an illustration is at that height, we would have the scattering effect that Andrew was talking about. And so it would not be a viable option for us, I think is what the diagram was trying to illustrate. Again, if you need more information or verification, let me know. Yeah.
On your proposed pole, are there 3 sides to that pole or 3 sides to the array at the top of it?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
are
So
all,
basically, it's like a triangle, is what it ends up being. With there's usually 3 antennas pointing. Let's just make it easy. It's pointing 0 degrees, 120 degrees, and 240. And then at the end of the day, that gives you 360 degrees coverage.
so there are apparatus or apparati mounted to all 3 sides of that. It's a unit, so to
Correct.
speak. All 3 sides.
Correct. Yep.
I see you have wood fencing proposed. Is that, are you open to a vinyl product that maybe would look nicer longer?
We are definitely open to, working with. Yeah, I just don't know if that'll be a cost burden that they wouldn't be taking on, but certainly open to discussion for the landscaping and the fencing, and just see if clients open for that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Additional questions from the Plan Commission?
So I mean, I would assume the landowner is obviously in favor of this. We don't have any documentation of that. Will you be able to provide some sort of an affidavit or something signed by the landowner that they support this situation?
Yeah, like I said, we have an executed lease. We're happy to either provide, a redacted lease or an affidavit with signature, whatever would be acceptable to you guys. Yeah, should not be a problem.
And then if approved with conditions, there's one condition related to the stormwater in the back. Would that be something that you're taking on, or the existing owner with respect to putting that property line in a different location to serve the stormwater user to the north?
Hmm. Well, I know the tower owner would be responsible for all development. So if this is something outside of an effect that our development would have, then that would likely go to the property owner. Otherwise, it would be our responsibility. Yes.
Do you find, have you found in the past that when you do have an executed lease, that is, I'm assuming a longer term lease, that it can or has been sold along with the property to a fourth party?
Julie, I'll take it, Julie.
Thank
So,
you.
yep. So I've been doing this for 26 years, 25 years, somewhere in there. And that does happen from time to time. Tillman Networks is our agent to build these facilities specifically for AT&T, and obviously they're co-locatable for anybody else. But we have agreements with Tillman that the lease agreements cannot be sold to a third party for a very extended period of time. I don't know the exact period of time, but I believe it's at least 15 or 20 years. But that said, whatever obligations are in the lease agreement that's signed between Tillman and the property owner would run with the land. So if the owner were to sell off the entire property, obviously our lease agreement would run with that because it's a recorded easement with that landlord, and we'd still be obligated under all those terms of the agreement, and obviously this, the special use permit that we're asking for too.
Other questions from the Plan Commission?
Not necessarily a question, but based on the height of this would be one of the tallest, if not the tallest thing in our city. We have a water tower and a church steeple that you can see from the horizon from, towns around us. I guess it's not really a question. I'm just a little concerned with, we're going to become the city of cell towers, and not our historic, cherished landmarks within our city. I guess not a question, more of a statement, but
Sure.
and this height is like the determined height that is necessary to provide the coverage necessary.
Yes. And I just want to say that, at this height, 173 total feet, there will be no lighting required. So it's not like we're going to be putting anything flashing or really drawing your attention to the tower. The lattice design, it's clean, and it's of a neutral color. Again, not something to make it flashy, draw your eye. We're trying to push it off the road a little bit, having it set back. So use what we can to screen it, and just doing what we can to make this design as seamless and, fitting as possible.
Understood.
I would assume there are other options for this that are more expensive. You can engineer anything, right? If for some reason the 173 was something that we just, couldn't handle, what other options would be available to you for a lower height? Would you have to go to multiple antenna, or how would you try to address that?
So,
Andrew? Yeah.
I got it. So when our engineers design the specific sites, I can go back and look through the records, but I believe the search area originally for the site was 190-foot monopole, or 190-foot tower. And after the engineers, we got the location locked down, and then we went through how does this interact with our other cell sites in the area, because they have to be able to hand off to each other. If you have a tower that's too tall, then it bleeds over onto the one next to it. If it's too short, then you have the gaps in coverage, and then you have dropped calls and low speeds on downloads and things like that. So we're not building any more or any less than what we need to build out our network and to cover, the facilities or the community there. That said, we also want to be conscious of when we build a facility, is it capable of taking care of other entities that could come along behind us? And building a tower like this, it's built for us plus 2, possibly 3 more, commercial carriers to come in and to use that facility. So we believe that, the structure that's built is for to meet those long-term needs. Where could we go with a different type of structure? If you don't like the self-support, which is basically what you see there with the 3 legs, we could go to a monopole, which is like a giant, kind of like a giant light pole with the antenna arrays on that. It's just a single round galvanized steel pole that's about 8 feet around the diameter, and we can put the antennas on that. But beyond that, there's really like no stealthing that you can do, because I don't think you'd really want to see, 165-foot monopine out there. It would look pretty stupid. That would look really bad, actually. You can't do a flagpole, because if you did a flagpole, the antennas have to be inside of the monopole. And when you do that, then the tower becomes basically useless for anybody else. Because the antenna arrays that AT&T has, just like all the rest of the carriers, you have to be stacked on top of each other. So instead of us having 9 antennas at 160 feet on the tower, we'd have 3 antennas at 160, 3 antennas at 150, and 3 antennas at 140. And then you'd have the next carriers down that would do something the same. And it becomes very problematic for doing equipment upgrades, maintenance, and capacity of that facility. So the facility that we're proposing here does meet all of state statutes, and we also believe that it does meet the requirements of what we need for our network at the same time. If that answers your questions.
Yeah, Andrew, for our next meeting, would you be able to provide a rendering showing what the addition of 2 to 3 additional carriers to that array would look like, even if it's
Sure. Yeah, absolutely, we can do that. Yeah, we can also provide even before that, we can provide a photo of other facilities, somewhere within 30, 40, 50 miles of you that has like 2, 3, 4 carriers on it. Yeah, we can do that.
Any plan commission members on the Zoom wish to ask any questions?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Any final questions or thoughts from the plan commission members in person here? Okay. Hearing none, I will move on to item 4, which is adjournment.
I move adjournment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 4:34 p.m. Thank you all.